Hello and welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ryan Bigelow, the Library Director for the City of Cottonwood. And today I have two very special guests with me from the Yavapai Library Network. We have the Library Network Manager, Ms. Valerie Burns. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And we have Charles Matheus, the Yes Calendar Champion, the coolest title in the world.
Yeah,
and
at least in Yavapai County.
At least in Yavapai County, and something we'll definitely be diving into here shortly. But first we want to kind of start with Valerie. Valerie's relatively new to the Yavapai Library Network, but we've got a lot of things going on. First, can you tell us and the folks at home, what is the Yavapai Library Network and kind of what do we do?
Sure. A lot of people don't know, but there's actually 43 libraries in Yavapai County that are part of the Yavapai Library Network. And these 43 libraries, they're not all public libraries. We also have academics because we have Embry-Riddle, we've got Prescott College, Yavapai College, which has the Verde campus here. And we have schools. So Bradshaw Mountain is also part of it, and Mingus Mountain High School is part of it. Any of these students that are at the high school have the capability of checking out books anywhere else in the county. So any of these 43 libraries can share materials. We've got a whole transit system in place, or a courier system, where the books can move. We've got van drivers that pick up, and quite an operation if you come to our facility and see how we actually sort these books and get them to their destination.
It is quite a feat that we have all of these shared libraries with all these shared resources, and yet it seems to be fairly flawless where it gets from point A to point B. It's pretty remarkable. How many folks does it take from the network side to get that done? Do you have a huge staff? It seems like it must be a huge staff.
No, not really a huge staff. We've got, the library network itself has 3 employees. There's myself. We have another employee that takes care of the software. So there's a computer system that is behind the scenes. It's actually at the county building in Prescott. We have the catalog there, and one of my programmers takes care of that catalog, makes sure it's up and running, does the updates to it. She's on 24/7 call. If there's a problem with the system, we do help desk tickets every day. And another one of my employees does the hardware part of it. Okay. So, just making sure that the network itself is up and running, that the battery backup is still good, so that we are providing continual service, reliable service for this library network for all of our libraries. Embry-Riddle opens at 7:30 in the morning. I think Prescott Public sometimes stays open till 9 at night. I'm not sure how late you stay open, but that's a long time for the computer network to be up and running. You can use it from home, and a lot of people don't realize the technology that's behind the scenes keeping this all going.
Right, and I appreciate it because I send in a lot of help desk tickets, and I know you've got to be shaking your head like, Ryan, again, another help desk ticket, oh my goodness. But it's very much appreciated, that resource. Now we have a lot of shared resources, not just with books, but you were talking about like the computer programs. You manage those and manage the contracts and kind of thing, or how does that, who gets those, and how do we know what computer resources we have?
Okay, so as a consortium, we have more purchasing power with these vendors. So we can negotiate a contract where an individual library might be charged something, but if I say, yes, we're going to have 43 libraries using this, they give us a much better price if you break it down to a per library cost. So the what we call an ILS, the Integrated Library System, is our biggest purchase. And each individual library, I think it would be cost prohibitive for each library to purchase their own. So the ability for all of us to use the same one, we're able to get quite a good cost. Then we also have databases that we negotiate. So a lot of people don't know about our databases, but quite often when you go on the library website, there's a place you can go for e-resources. And you can maybe get the Chilton's guide to how to fix your car, or you could take training classes. A lot of the different libraries have different choices for you on those databases.
Right. So when we say shared resources, oftentimes we're also saying shared expenses. We're being a part of this network is helpful for us, and ultimately our patrons. They get to share a lot more for a lot less money. So that's a great benefit of the YLN. Another shared resource that we have is we have a lot of groups for kind of some professional development, and a lot of things happen where it's just troubleshooting at these groups. Can you talk a little bit about the tech group and the steering committee and all those groups that you manage, and what happens at those meetings?
Okay, so right, another large part of being the consortium is communicating between ourselves. So we have some formal groups that we have. We have a steering committee, which is actually, there's 20 entities. So for example, Prescott Unified School District, there's 6 schools, but there's only one entity, paying for that. So, so we have a steering committee made up of the paying entities who make the decisions for how the network is going to be run. So if we decide that our current piece of software isn't working for us and we want to put out a quote for a new piece of software, we would take that to the steering committee. Then underneath that would be the circulation committee, who talks about how we check out books, the public services committee that says how we interface to the public, different ideas. There's a technology committee, so any new technology ideas that are coming around, we talk about these. And there's a few others that I'm missing right now.
Sure. There's a lot, and I know when I asked my staff, before this I asked what's the biggest benefit. Several of them mentioned, these groups, these smaller groups where they're very specific to their profession and what they're trying to get done, and that they can either bounce ideas or share some resources. So that's another great benefit for us. So. The network, it's huge. There's Yavapai County, there's over 40 libraries. Do we know, are we circulating 1,000 books a day, 100,000 books a day? Do we have any idea how much circulation we're going through?
Oh, I'm not sure about the per day. We have 1.2 million materials, so that would be books, DVDs, CDs, any type of physical material, also our e-materials, which I don't know if you're an e-book reader. We have a way that you can read Kindle books through the library. You don't ever even have to step foot into the library to make use of some of these e-materials. The yearly circulation, I want to say, is around 200,000. I'd have to look that up, actually. Right,
but I think that's about where we're at. And to say that what I try to impress on people every day is that just because our library, the Cottonwood Public Library, doesn't have what you're looking for, there's a really good chance another group in our network is going to have it, or there's a way that they can find it. So I think it's a tremendous resource for our patrons and our community to have this and be able to utilize all of these libraries all at once. So it's remarkable.
If I can just tell a quick story about that. I'm a science fiction reader. I fell into a science fiction series, which is always dangerous, right? You can find the first book, and then you're like, oh God, now what? And it turned out that the whole series was at the Jerome Library. I live in Prescott, but I can find it on that ILS. I can go on my phone and use the app and find the book, find the series, and place a hold, and it gets the couriers, bring it over to my library and drop it off. And with no delay, hardly at all, I was able to read that whole series from a library that wasn't my library.
Correct. It's a remarkable, and that's a very good. We all have that experience as patrons where you look and see, oh, this book didn't come from Cottonwood. This came from Prescott. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we've really pressed upon shared resources. It's a really great program for us. It's really great. I hope it's working out for everyone in Yavapai County. We have another shared resource that Charles is going to get into right after the break here. We have a shared calendar. So we have a community-wide calendar that we're really going to, all of our libraries and other folks in our community are going to try to get into. So as we return, we're going to get into another shared resource with Charles Matheus of the Yavapai Library Network, and we'll be right back.
Attention Cottonwood residents. If you've been a Cottonwood resident for a year or more and are at least 18 years old, you could run for the Cottonwood City Council. The Cottonwood City Council makes policy decisions and is empowered to enact ordinances and policies to protect citizens' rights in the city of Cottonwood. In the 2020 election cycle, the citizens of Cottonwood will elect a mayor and 4 council members. If you want to be a part of the Cottonwood City Council, now is the time to contact the Cottonwood City Clerk's office for more information. Qualified electors can run for mayor or council seats, and all forms and petitions are due by April 6, 2020. Contact the Cottonwood City Clerk today at 928-340-2727. The City of Cottonwood, inspiring a vibrant community.
And welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ryan Bigelow, the Cottonwood Public Library Director, here today with a couple of Yavapai Library Network employees, the network manager, Valerie Burns. Thank you again for being here. And Charles, before the break, we started touching on your project here this year as the Yes Calendar Champion.
Right.
Can you tell us about this shared resource and what we're expecting out of it?
You bet. So YES stands for Yavapai Event Services.
Great.
And this is a piece of software that, again, is being shared by the whole network. And it's a modern, state-of-the-art, mobile-friendly event calendar and room reservation system. We'll kind of leave it off to the side for a little bit. But what it allows for libraries and businesses and nonprofits to upload their events onto this calendar that's going to be seen by everybody in Yavapai County.
Right.
And then folks can use filters because there's already 5,000 events on the calendar as it stands, and we're just getting started.
Of course.
So we anticipate tens of thousands of events being on the calendar by this time next year. And then a patron or somebody from the public can use some filters. I want to find something in Cottonwood for a teen next week. Oh, the Comic-Con is happening at the Cottonwood Library. Oh, Cottonwood Parks and Rec is doing this event for teens. Or oh, there's something happening in Sedona. Or we're heading over to Prescott for the weekend. Let's find out what's happening in Prescott.
Right.
We're a tourist coming in. We want to find some cultural events. So we're very excited for that piece of software to be the one-stop shop for people looking for culture, education, family-friendly events.
Right, and it's not just about our libraries participating. There's going to be, and there already are, other community entities that are participating, which makes it all the more valuable, right? That it's not just, hey, what's the library got going on today? It's what is happening community-wide in the whole Yavapai County.
Right.
So it's really wonderful.
And to find that information now, you'd have to look at the paper, you'd have to look at the library website, you'd have to look at the Chamber of Commerce website, you'd have to do your own curating, you'd have to be the librarian of your own events, and this is just going to put it in one place, and we hope people will just look at it on their phone every weekend. Right.
It seems like something that is a community need and something that I know folks in our community have been talking about for a long time, but how did this come about for the county? Where did you step in, and how was this created?
Great. Yeah, so Corey Christians, who's the head of the Yavapai County Free Library District, this was kind of his vision, along with Valerie's predecessor in the library network, just fulfilling that need for there's all this information that's hidden all over the place. They wrote a grant to pay for this particular piece of software that's being developed by these folks down in Arkansas somewhere, and the part of the grant was also to pay for my position, so I'm on a grant-funded position that wraps up in August. And just this vision of this interconnected county. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about in the first segment, like we're stronger together, right? Right. So, Cottonwood Library is stronger when it can get access to this 1.2 million piece collection. Folks in Prescott are going to benefit from knowing that the Comic-Con is happening at the Cottonwood Library. Kids are going to come from everywhere, from Prescott, from Prescott Valley, maybe even from Seligman. So just that idea that we're stronger together, and that there's no reason for information to be, in this day and age, there's no reason for information to be siloed all over the place. Right. And we want to get it out to the public, and they'll decide how to use it. We really trust the public to do that.
Perfect. So as of right now, how many groups or how many libraries do you have up and running? You said 5,000 events already are on
5,000 events
That's
already.
Remarkable. Yep. So we're at 5,000 with who, and then what are our expectations for this?
Right. So there's 25 libraries on there now, and it's everything from events at Beaver Creek Library connected to the Beaver Creek School to the Yavapai County or Yavapai College Libraries.
Right.
So those 25 libraries, and then there are 3 county entities: County Health.
Oh, really?
Development Services, of all things. The
Right.
Development Services that provides permits for everybody to do their building, puts events on there because they really like meeting with the public. And County Elections is on there as well.
Wow.
And then there's 8 nonprofit organizations, including the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce, the Highland Center for Natural History, Matt Forrest, some organizations like that. And by this time next year, we're expecting that to be more like 50 nonprofit agencies, as well as those libraries and county entities.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like obviously one person doing this entire project seems like maybe it might not be enough.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges that you're running into right now, getting people up and running and getting people on board?
Yeah, well, I'll let you know that one of the things that I notice is that when I travel around to talk to people about this, to talk to a new nonprofit organization about it, they kind of wait for me to shut up so that they can say, yes,
Okay.
how can we get involved? So that's not the problem at all. The issue is just making sure that we get our policy ducks in a row.
Okay.
And that frankly, one of the things that we've had to change to make it better for the whole county is to just change the landing page, because initially it just was very library-centric.
Okay.
So it looked like all that was on there was
Just
libraries.
right.
Yeah, so we're spending a couple of months to get that landing page more community-focused and
Okay.
less focused on the libraries.
Right. So doing this project, though, you spent a lot of time in libraries, with libraries.
Yeah.
Coming from the outside,
Yeah.
looking in, what's kind of been your overall impression with our libraries and the Yavapai Library
my
Network?
gosh. I've become a complete convert to libraries and library science and what they mean for the community, and I have had the opportunity, kind of the requirement, to travel around to everything from the Sedona Library, Cottonwood Library, and I have to say, when I walked into the Cottonwood Library, I was greeted right away by a volunteer.
Wonderful.
I was made to feel very welcome. One of your managers came out from behind the desk and was just very engaged with me and took me back to the teen center and wanted to show me everything. So, and that's true in every library I go to. Just this pride that the people who work there and the people who volunteer there have for the library. And I also see how the libraries are serving communities, not just with circulating materials, but with these events, this real drive to provide education, to provide entertainment, for people to share their passions, amateur historians coming and
Right.
doing presentations, that
Right.
kind of thing. And I also see how the libraries are serving people in really unique ways. The YCFLD libraries provide notary services out in Baghdad.
Right.
Where are you going to get something notarized in Baghdad?
Right.
Turns out it's at the library.
Well, that's something that we're priding ourselves on is being customer friendly, customer service oriented, but also being flexible with what are the needs of the community, because
Right.
we can be whatever the community needs us to be, and we can evolve and flex for that. So
Yeah.
thank you for saying that. That means a lot to us and a lot to our library, because we're trying really hard for some of those
Oh
things.
yeah, it's really clear. It's really clear.
So one of the we'll go back to this Yes calendar. You had mentioned there's a room reservation function. I know that's less exciting, but for us on our end, that is a real selling point. Can you talk just briefly about what that looks like?
Sure. So from either the business or nonprofit or library end, they can put their rooms that are available for public reservation up on the system. And it's very easy for somebody to find it and say, yeah, I have a club meeting, or I have a board meeting that I'm trying
Right,
to hold, and I don't
right.
want to spend a bunch of money to rent a room at the Ramada or whatever. And they can find it by date, they can find it by location, and it's really, really simple for them. And it's really simple for the libraries or the entities to use, because it's all email-based. You don't have to spend a bunch of time
Right.
emailing and calling back and forth. You can take care of it in seconds.
Well, just another benefit of the Yes calendar, and something we're looking forward to. I know at our library that back and forth can take days of calling
Right.
people and saying, hey, and oh, we just missed us, and to get that reservation finalized, it could be 30 seconds, and we're back and forth, and we're going to be so much more efficient that way. And that's again, that's shared resources, efficiencies, shared costs.
Right.
That's what we're all about. So.
Yeah, and get you interacting with the public instead of figuring out your room reservation system.
Can we show somebody where a book is, or what programs we have, versus that third phone call to try to make sure that we get that final reservation
Right.
confirmed. So yeah, we're on the up and up. So speaking of on the up and up, our next segment will be talking about what can we look forward to at the Yavapai Library Network. What are our libraries looking ahead at? And more with Valerie Burns and Charles Matheus when we return.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness. When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ryan Bigelow, the Library Director at the Cottonwood Public Library, and joining me today is Valerie Burns, the Network Manager for the Yavapai Library Network, and we have Charles Matheus, the Yes Calendar Champion of the Yavapai Library Network. So we just got done, we've really been emphasizing shared resources, what we're doing together. Let's start talking about kind of what's next. Valerie, you're relatively new to this position. I can't play the new card anymore. I've been here for 2 years, so I'm like the old veteran now. But what are some of your observations about our network, and kind of what are your thoughts about where we're headed in the future?
Okay. Well, I'm an IT person by nature. I have a computer science degree, and I've worked in IT my entire life. And this opportunity came up to work for the libraries, and I thought, oh, what a great experience, because I've often quit for a little bit of time and worked at schools. Mm-hmm. So I have a few years in the school. I love being involved with the community, and what a great way to have my IT skills and serve the community in the same job in this capacity. I believe in the future of libraries. I actually signed up to get my MLIS degree, and I've started that this semester. But it's just giving me a different perspective, because coming from the completely technical, IT world, I want to take libraries to that next step of where we're important in the community, we're doing what the community needs, and how can my IT skills move the library where it needs to move in that direction. I know some of the things that interested me about this job were the number of e-resources that were available through the library, the number of e-books you can get in addition to their physical collections. I've been at some, academic libraries where it's no longer the shh, don't make noise in our library, but they're collaborative learning places. And it's so amazing to see students being encouraged to work together at a table, and maybe the table's a whiteboard and they're using, materials like that. They're encouraged to bring their technology with them, and you can just see the learning all happening, and that kind of excites me.
Well, I've noticed a big change just right off the bat. You started sending tech tips, and we get those on Tuesdays, and some of them are just refreshers for us, but so much of what we do now is interact with the public and teach them some of the basic technical skills of computers and devices, and your tips have translated over to not just our staff, but then gets into the public. So those have been wonderful. Keep up the good work on those. Let's keep doing those.
That's good to hear.
It also, we were talking a little bit during the break, and Charles, you hit on this. We're never really closed, because we do have all of these online and sometimes the library is in your pocket type resources. You want to hit on that a little bit?
Sure, and especially as we look at people staying home more for the COVID virus, which I think is a great idea.
Sure.
The library's never closed if you have an internet connection. So there's ebooks, There are books on tape. I guess it's not really tape, but that you can download to your phone or to your Kindle. There are tremendous numbers of learning resources depending on which library you're a part of. So, we're hoping that people maybe who aren't spending as much time at work, maybe you can actually get a certificate in something by taking a class through your local library. It's never closed, open 24 hours as long as you got an internet connection.
We say that all the time. Our line is, I've got 6 books on my phone right now. It's of course people like the physical books, and those aren't going away anytime soon. Don't worry, those aren't going away anytime soon. But the alternative, and sometimes when like for me, spending time in a car, to be able to listen to materials has been wonderful. So Valerie, with your tech background. What have been the biggest challenges then for you to kind of integrate into this library world?
I think the biggest challenge for me right now is that we do have the 43 libraries of different types, and getting what is common between everyone, getting everybody talking together, sharing ideas. I know Ryan mentioned these small user groups that we have. But just like getting the ideas that maybe Cottonwood is using to Camp Verde or to Prescott and sharing all that. That's been kind of a challenge for me because everybody's busy, everybody's got their own job to do, and when I ask for ideas, I don't often hear them, but I know they're out there. So I'm going to look at maybe doing things a little bit differently this year to get people talking and to get that collaboration piece a little more effective.
That we're looking forward to that, because I think that is something that we get so bogged down into the day-to-day that when that email or when that suggestion comes through, are we ready to capitalize on that, and what does that look like? So we're looking forward to those changes. You mentioned a strategic plan. I know that's a challenge, but it's one of the first things I did when I got to the Cottonwood Public Library was we created a strategic plan. We were going out and trying to hit as much of the public as possible for our strategic plan. What is your kind of initial steps in a strategic plan, and what does that look like for you and the network?
Okay, so firstly, I inherited a strategic plan, which is supposed to take me through to next year. And when I read through it, after I got accustomed to the job a little bit, I read through it, and we were either already working on or already had completed many of the tasks that were listed in that plan. So my mission this year, being 2020, the year of vision, is to work with our executive committee and our steering committee on developing a new plan. Where do we want to be 5 years in the future? What good ideas are out there that other libraries are doing right now? And get feedback again, these little, if you want to call them town hall meetings or whatever, but try to get smaller brainstorming sessions with different people, different communities, and see where do they want their library to be.
Interesting. So you'll get with us, and then I'll put out a call to our public and say, hey, if you want to be a part of this process, if you want to have some influence and say in where your libraries, your district ends up in 5-10 years from now, come out. So our audience can be looking for that, and I'm sure they will come back and have some opinions for us. Charles, we have you for 1 year. We're coming up at the end of that 1 year. It's coming faster than we would like. What does that look like for you, and where does the YES calendar go after that?
Great. I think one of the things that I'm really interested in is providing sustainability. So there's going to be a bunch of online training resources, both for the public, how to use that calendar and get the most out of it. So there'll be some little 1-minute quickie videos on how to do that, and also for how your staff can administer the calendar. And we're gonna set up a Facebook users group so that you and your staff can kind of share tips and share events and have, because we know that community is what makes things work. That's what we know from libraries. So I'm going to make sure that there's a community in place before I move on to whatever else is next.
Great. And I'm not going to put anybody on the spot too much, but have you had any conversations with any groups here in Cottonwood, here in the Verde Valley, about maybe participating in this calendar?
Yeah, well, Cottonwood Parks and Rec is already on board. I'm meeting with the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce next week and talking to some other contacts as well in Sedona and small, wonderfully small, motivated groups in Rimrock.
Oh,
So,
good,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So we're gonna have we have some other groups to look forward to
Absolutely.
to use this calendar.
And
so.
Camp Verde is a huge user of it already. So
Right,
yeah,
they-
Camp Verde Library. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to check out what this looks like, you can check out Camp Verde's
Absolutely.
website already, and their calendar's up and running, and you can look at the filter systems, which I really
Yep.
like being able to filter through. You know, I've got small kids. We want small kids events this weekend,
Yep.
so this is what we're going to look at. So wonderful. Well, I can't thank you both enough for making it over here. We really appreciate you having you and sharing all of our resources and all of our information with our community. So if there's anything else, there's always the Cottonwood Public Library you can get to. You can always call us, come see us, ctwpl.info. Our number's on there on the bottom of the screen. Please never hesitate to call us and reach out, and we'll do the best we can to support. So that's it for today. That's Inside Cottonwood. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Bigelow, the Cottonwood Public Library Director, and we'll see you next time.